So today we are going to start building a microservice application using Spring Boot, using AngularJS, and also using MongoDB. Now here is how it works. We have an API, a back-end application that returns JSON data, just the JSON data, and you have a front-end application, a UI, that returns a HTML page. So make no mistake about it, an API returns JSON or XML, but in this case, we are going to be returning XML, JSON, and the UI, user interface, application programmer interface. These are two things that work together. When you have two applications that actually work together in this way, then we call them microservices. They're actually services, but they can also work as different applications. And this is what we are going to be doing today. I actually made out this architecture right here. You can see. And this architecture is what we are going to be working with. We have two services that returns HTML page, that's a UI, and we have the other one, the product API, that returns the list of data, and this list of data is going to be signed to the UI to display on a web page. And this is the architecture we are going to be working with. I also have made out the step-by-step right here in a new website. Just let me digress a little. I built this new website. You can see right here, brand new website, simply to make these lessons. No ads on this website. So you can also support this website simply by subscribing. And also I have this buy me a coffee right here. You can actually go here and just actually buy me a coffee. And in this way, I can enhance this website, make it user-friendly. All the tutorials, I'm going to be putting it right here. As you can see, on this website, there's only one single lesson. This lesson we are watching now is on this website. All the step-by-step, all the codes we need to use, all the code snippets is right here. And this is only the first lesson. So if you follow strictly, you're not going to miss out anything. So feel free to subscribe to my website, to the website, to the blog on the website, and also subscribe to this channel by clicking on the subscribe button below this video. Let's do this together, and let's go ahead to get started right now. So the first thing we want to do, I actually made it in a very simple step-by-step manner so we can follow the steps. There are about 7 phases. Each of them have a number of sub-steps we can follow along. So the first thing we are going to do is to set up an API in Spring Boot. I'm going to be using IntelliJ, and so let's see. This is IntelliJ as it's open. Now I'm using IntelliJ Ultimate. You can also use the Community Edition. And in this case, I'll have to explain to you a little later the difference between the two. So I'm going to start a new, let me just start a new application at this point. And this application is will be the Spring API. So there is a step-by-step. So I'm going to kind of move this to the side right here so I can see the two windows open. I'm going to move this to this point. Okay. So I'm going to create a new application here. I'm going to build the first application is the product API, and later we are going to use AngularJS to build the product web or the product UI. I think I could have called it the product UI so that it makes sense. So let me go to File and say New, File, New. We're actually going to be using Spring Startup Project. So if I go to Project, let's see. All right, so in this page, you can now go down to choose Spring Initializer in the list. You can see Spring Initializer. Now, if you are using the Community Edition, now these menus, all these menus, some of them might not actually be here, but you can see Spring Initializer. You can choose Spring Startup Project, I can't remember. So, but this is easy. I've actually done this in other tutorials, so this is quite easy. So in case of Java, choose 1.8 for now. That's what I've always been using. And go to next. Just click on next. So what dependencies are we going to be adding? Let me see. Okay, it's not specified right here, but I think I'm going to say comes as kinds and the genius. Comes as Kyneton the Genius. This will be, remember Kyneton the Genius is the name of my brand. That's the name of my other website where you have ads, but in this new website, there is no ads placed on it. So let's call this product API. All right, so comes as kind of the genius that product API now becomes the name of the base package, and I'm going to call this product API. I think I'm going to change the font, the screen appearance, so to have a white background. That may make more sense. So I'm going to go next. So we actually will need to add Lombok. Lombok helps us to avoid writing much of the boilerplate codes, and it generates the getters and the setters for us, and also the toString method and the equal and hash code. We also need to add MongoDB, Spring Data Mongo, I think, yeah. So Spring Data Mongo, yeah, Spring Data Mongo, and then we also need to add what else? REST repositories. I can't remember. So, okay, REST repositories. Now the first one. Okay, perfect. We actually, in working with Spring, we don't need to add Hibernate. That is one thing, because we are not using JPA repository. We are using Mongo repository if you're actually working with Spring, and it makes it a whole lot easy to work with. All right, so I'm going to click on Next right now, and the name of the project name is Product API. And now I want to put it in a different directory in my drive D. I'm going to go to drive D and go to tutorials. Let's see, scroll down to tutorials here, and I want to put it in tutorials and call it product API. All right, so this is where I'm saving it, and I'm going to click on finish. Yes, okay, create it. So the next thing we are going to do, once this window is fine, I want to change the appearance of the UI display of IntelliJ to be a white background. I'm more comfortable working with a white background. So I'm going to close off this. I'm going to just take out all of these. Take out all of these. Okay. So I'm going to go to File and go to Settings, and we are going to change the background to be white. So let it do its thing by downloading all the necessary dependencies. So go to Appearance, you have this Dracula, and you have IntelliJ Light. Choose IntelliJ Light and just apply. I think that will change everything to white. And I also like to change the font to become a little bigger. So I'm going to go to Editor and go to Font, and I'm going to change to 17. 17 should be fine. I'm going to apply and say, okay, good. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to create the model. The model is like the table. So remember, we don't have to, it's not a relational database. MongoDB is not a relational database. So we simply create the class, and the table is created for us in the database automatically. So that's how it works. I'm going to go to src main Java. I'm going to, now I'm not going to partition this application into different packages. I'm going to place everything in the base package. This is just for a tutorial for demo purposes. In the normal application in production, maybe you have to create a package called model where you save all your models. You create a package called repositories where you put all the repositories, and you also create a package called controller. You create a package called services. But here, let's do the demo first, and later we talk about best practices. So I'm going to create file, new Java class. I'm going to give it a name, product, because now we want to display a list of products on a web browser that comes from this API we are building right now. It's going to be a class. I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to simply copy from here, and I'm going to use it right there. All right, so now when you annotate with a data annotation, give me a sec. Okay, when you annotate with a data annotation, that is a Lombok annotation that actually helps to generate the getters and the setters. So we are not going to manually be writing the getters and the setters at this point. So data comes from Lombok. So I'm going to save everything first. File, save all. Okay, so I'm gonna. So data comes from Lombok. So I'm going to just import class, and the ID is going to also come from the annotation.id. Now take note that I've used the ID to be string, and you can change it if you want to integer if you want. We also need to create a repository. In this case, we are going to create a repository that extends Mongo repository. Remember, we are not extending CRUD repository or JPA repository because we are not working with relational database at this point. I'm going to create a repository. Remember, a repository is a component class, and in this case, it connects to the data model or to the underlying data source. So I'm going to click on Java class and choose interface here. I'm going to call it product repository. That's the naming convention at this point. You have to use the name of the model and attach the repository as a suffix to repository. And this class or this interface is going to extend Mongo repository. It's going to extend Mongo repository, and you are going to specify the name of the model. In this case, it's going to be product, and also specify the name of the primary key type. The primary key type in this case is string, right? Let's call it or something. String. Okay, so this is what you do. Products. All right, so products. All right, good. Okay. So we also need to annotate this repository with at repository REST resources, because this at repository REST resources gives us access to other endpoints. Basically, it generates almost all the endpoints for us, like get all, get one, whatever, and a whole lot of CRUD operations. It gives us all these endpoints, but this is something you should just learn for now. We are not going to use it much. We are going to write our own methods. But take note that if you use REST repositories, maybe I can demonstrate to show you how it actually works. So I'm going to import the class. I'm going to choose import class. Now we've created the repository. We move on to step 4. Step 4 is the controller at this point. The controller actually has the actual endpoints. In this case, I'm going to write a single endpoint that returns list of products, and at that point I should be done. So let me go to create the REST controller. So I'm going to call it product controller. Okay, fine. We need to auto-wire the repository into this controller, because we are going to use the REST repository to fetch data from the model. And so basically, I'm going to copy and paste so that we could save precious time. I'm going to paste it right here. I'm going to use Control Alternate Shift Enter. Maybe it helps us to import all the classes, but it doesn't work. So let me just manually import them. So say import class. This is going to be java.util.list. Okay. Why do we have this error? Not public. Product REST controller. Okay, I understand what is happening. I call the name of the class product controller, and what we're going to do now, I'm going to change the name of the file to the same, because in Java the convention is the name of the class should be the name of the file. So let's simply come here and just go to more actions here and choose rename file, and it's going to rename the file to correspond to the class name. Now we've completed the first part of this tutorial. We built the product API, and that is great. I'm going to test it now. Oh, there's one more thing. Step 5, we need to add the initial products. Maybe you can add some items. You can do that in 2 ways. One, you can create a data.sql file and create a file, call it data.sql, and write insert statement to insert into MongoDB. But in this particular demo, I'm going to show you that you can use another file, a component file that is going to run immediately. This application starts up. This component file is going to run, and then it's going to run a method that is annotated with at post construct that is going to insert initial data into the database. So go ahead to the base package, right click, and let's create this new class. This new class, I'm going to name it initialize component. So I'm going to call it initialize components, initialization components, or call it initialize database or something, but let's call it initialization component, right? That's the name of this class. And this class is going to use the repository to actually insert different data into the model or into the data store. So I'm going to annotate it with that components, component annotation, so that this class is a component. It has to when class path scan happens, this class is going to be found by Spring and is going to run immediately the application starts. We also need going to simply copy this. So now we auto wire the repository into this class and use this repository. You just copy and paste this code, and then I'm going to explain it to you. So basically, we're auto wiring the repository into this class because this class is going to be making post requests into the underlying data store using the product repository. The first thing we do, first we delete everything in the repository because we are initializing our database. And why do we have these errors here? Okay, just for now, just for these demo purposes, let's add the getters and the setters manually, and later we are going to come back to solve this problem. So let me add the getters and setters manually for now. So right click and choose generate, and choose generate getter, and select all. Sorry, not this. So right click and choose generate, and generate getter and setter, and select everything. Select everything and say OK. So let's add it manually just to remove this error for now. Later I'm going to check where this problem is coming from. So I've added the getters and the setters manually. The problem is gone. Okay, so we have everything to be fine. Now you can choose to add another product. Maybe you can see the syntax for adding new product. So you can choose to add another product right here. And so finally, we need to now do the configuration for MongoDB so that this application here can actually connect to a MongoDB data store. And to do that, we are going to open the resources folder and open the application.properties, and we are going to set the URL, the MongoDB URI. So I'm going to paste it. So basically, in my system, there's a MongoDB I already installed. So as I didn't mention, I forgot. You already need to install MongoDB in your system for you to follow along in this tutorial. So this is the URL, default URL for MongoDB. So you can actually paste it exactly the way it is right here. So right now, we are done with this API. So if I go ahead to click on it, and if I go to the controller, I go to /products, running at port 8080, I could see a list of products. I'm going to run at this point. I'm going to save all, and I'm going to just run. Now we have this product API application is already configured for us. So simply click on. Meanwhile, if this configuration you don't see it right here, just right click and choose edit configuration and choose this plus sign right here and choose Maven You'll see Maven down. Sometimes many of the things here might not actually be in your own if you are using the community. Sorry for this. So some of the things you will not see in yours. So sorry for this disruption. So look for Maven. Okay, so you choose Maven. Okay, when you choose Maven, and just go here and choose Spring Boot Run. So when you choose Spring Boot Run, and you can say apply and say okay. So you can see that we have Spring Boot Run configuration. This is also perfectly okay. It's going to work. And you go to the configuration, choose the Maven, and choose Spring Boot Run is also going to work. So you can actually use any of these two configurations. Me, I'm going to just use the Spring Boot existing one. So I'm going to right click and run. So let's see. So while it's running, while we are waiting for it to run, the next thing we are going to do, we are going to install Node.js in our system, because Node.js is a runtime that helps you run applications on a server that is created on the fly. We are not going to talk so much. We're not going to be talking so much about Node.js because I already made a complete tutorial on Node.js. You can check in the description box on this video. You can find a link to a tutorial on Node.js. But for now, you don't have to worry about it. You're simply going to download and install Node.js from this link. So I'm going to open this link so that let's keep it open. So if we go back to Okay, so you can see the application is running perfectly well. So if I go to port 8080 and go to /products, localhost 8080, and we go to /products, we should be able to see those initial products that was inserted, and you can see them right here, right now. So we have this product we inserted. We can actually play around by inserting more products into the database. So right now I'm going to go back to download and install Node.js. So you can have the Windows MSI installer depending on your operating system. For me, I'm using 64-bit, so I just click on 64-bit. It downloads, as you can see right here. Maybe I'm just going to expand this window. So it downloads. Simply run the installer, and that's all you'll need to do. Now I'm going to stop it, although it's completely downloaded, because I already did this process. So I already installed it. So now we are going to continue by following this step. So we are going to now check the Node.js version. So to do that, simply go to command prompt. So go to your command prompt. Normally, I like running my command prompt as administrator. So in your command prompt, you're gonna type node version. Let me just shift this to this place. You're gonna type node -- version. And it tells you Node version 10.15.1 seems to be the latest version as of 2020 April. So Node.js is installed perfectly on my system. The next thing we want to do right now is to install AngularJS. Now you don't have to download anything. This is very easy process to do. Now to install AngularJS, you need to use Node Package Manager. Okay, so to do that, simply run the command npm install. This time you're just going to run it in the same command prompt. Is okay. Now the first thing what you are going to install is called CLI, Angular CLI, and simply run the command -g at Angular /CLI. All right, so you run this command, is going to install the Angular CLI for you, and you can see it's running right now. Once this installation completes for Angular CLI, that's great. You now have everything set up. You have Node.js, you have Angular CLI set up for you. Now I want to also test. Now everything is fine. Now I already installed Angular CLI in my system, so it simply did some updates. So I'm going to say, I'm going to just check for the Angular version by saying ng -- version. So it tells me the Angular version, and also 9.1.3, and also the Node version installed in my system. There is something about installation of Angular. It seems you need to add the installation directory to your class path. So basically, Angular is installed. When you install it, it tells you where it is installed. You can see C at this point. Okay, so I'm going to say Control C. Let me just go to show you. Let me just show you where Angular is installed. Angular is installed at this point. So let me see. Okay, so Angular is installed. Let's just go back a little bit. Okay, so npm. So this npm installation directory is the installation path for Angular. So basically, you can actually copy this directory. There is the Angular home, and add it to your path environment variable. To do that, simply go to PC, go to properties, because when you run ng and you are not able to get the Angular version, it means that Angular is installed, but the installation path is not exposed. So simply go to advanced settings here. From the advanced settings, and go to environment variables, and choose at this point, scroll down here and go to path here, and simply edit. When you click on edit, you simply say new. So if you look at this place, you can see that we should have so just give a second. So we have Angular CLI might be somewhere here. Okay, so we have this place here. So remember, this is HP updater roaming npm So it's here in the class part, so everything is working perfectly well. Let's get back to work. So Angular is installed in our system right now. The next thing we want to do now is to create a client application. So to do that, you simply run because we are now creating the Angular the web microservice that will connect to the product API we already created. There is a product API that has JSON data. Okay, that is fine. It's JSON it's not UI, so we can't users cannot use this. So we are going to create a UI application now with Angular, and to do that, you're simply going to say ng new product web. Just give it a name. However, you need to make sure the directory where you want to place this new Angular application. So I want to place this application in the same directory where I place the API. It doesn't matter, you can also place in a different directory, it's fine. But I want to place the two applications in the same directory, in different folders, but in the same base directory. So I'm going to say cd I don't know why sometimes. So the directory is tutorials. Is actually tutorials. So this is where I have my product API. So if I say dir, you can see that we have product API right here. So we now want to create the product web also here. So I'm going to say the CLI, so clear my screen. I'm going to say ng new. I'm specifying the name of the Angular app because ng new is a command in Angular to create a new application in AngularJS. I'm going to say ng new product web. Okay, that's all. And hit enter on your keyboard, and it takes a couple of seconds. And you will allow to add routing. Yes, we will want to add routing. I'm going to explain this later on. For now, just follow this procedure. Let's just see how we can connect Angular with Spring Boot, fetch data from MongoDB, and later on we just hit enter again so that I can use the CSS. So this application is going to be created for us freely, and you can see just magically we have a complete application. I'm going to use ng-serve. It's going to serve this application, and we can actually go to HTTP to check and browse through this application. And then we now talk about how to connect it to the API created to fetch data from the Spring Boot API. All right, so you can see that the application has been created for us. How do we know the application has been created? So we can now serve this application, and it's a web application, and we can see. So just run the command. First, let me just clear my screen. I'm going to say CLI clear my screen. So I'm going to say ng, because that's step 2 right here. Right here, you can see step 2. ng serve, okay. And it's going to spin up this application. Requires to be run in an Angular project. Oh, so at this point we actually need to navigate into the product web. So I'm going to say cd product web, and I'm going to just do the same ng-serve at this point, and this application is going to spin up, and you can see that we've created a new Angular application, complete Angular application, and we are now going to start working on trying to display a list of products. So let's give a couple of seconds and let's see. This step 3 we just completed. Now let me just talk about the next steps we are going to follow. Now, Angular application is made up of components. So for now, when this new application starts up, we can see that it has a number of components that has been created from the start. Now, you can add more components. For instance, if you want to display the list of products, you also have to create a component to handle this. This is a way to kind of divide application a UI into different sections, and you can work on these sections separately, and that makes it easy to build UI application, which is what Angular, React, and all these other frameworks and libraries, what they are used for. More of that later on. All right, so I'm going to go to, all right, so it says compile successfully, and now it's running at port 4200. So let's go to check. I'm going to go to http localhost at port 4200, and now let's see. Great. So have a brand new application just created for us just like that. So you can modify this application and get what you want. Okay, let's just continue working. So it's a product web is working, everything is fine. You can start learning, but that is okay. I'm going to take you through, so don't go too fast. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to create a component to be able to display the product. Meanwhile, I would like us to open this Angular application in an IDE. So I can actually come to, let me look for where it is installed or is created. So let's go back to the directory here, and the directory is tutorials. And you can see the two applications, the product web and the product API right here. In case I can just make it a little bigger if you want, large icons. So this product API, I can actually open it in Spring Boot. I can also open it in IntelliJ, but I'll recommend using Visual Studio Code. If you have the IntelliJ Ultimate Edition, you can use it. But in this case, I would like us to use Visual Studio Code. It's easier, it's free. Let me not use my IntelliJ, because my IntelliJ opens it using some tools that you might not find in yours, and you may not be able to work with it. Let me open Visual Studio Code, VS Code. Or if you are a student, let me know. I can let you see how, I can tell you how to get IntelliJ Ultimate Edition for free as a student. So if you are a student, write in the below and let me know, and I'll just send you tell you how you can get it Ultimate Edition as a student. That's what I'm using, because I'm a researcher, you know. Or you are a teacher, maybe a lecturer in a school. I'm going to go to VS Code, so Visual Studio Code here. Okay. So in VS Code, we also have an embedded command line. So we are not actually going to be going out to the command line to be typing anything. We are going to be using the embedded command line in Visual Studio Code. Remember, at this point, we have the API and it's running. We've not stopped it. We simply need to build a UI to consume this API. So at this point, I'm going to, okay, Visual Studio Code starts up. Close the workspace, close workspace, and it's going to close everything. Close workspace, don't save, just close everything. And it's going to take a couple of seconds to close up. Okay, so we are going to open this directory that contains the two applications we are working with. These two applications are in a directory in our system. We are now going to open that directory as a workspace, and we are going to be working on the product web. So I'm going to save file. I'm going to say open workspace, and I'm going to say open workspace, and it's going to be tutorial right here. I'm going to say open. Okay, product web as a workspace, just open. Oh no, okay. So we are simply going to create a new workspace. So file, so new workspace, it should be add folder to workspace. So I choose open folder. I'm going to tutorial here, select folder. So I think this folder opens as a workspace. So now let's get to the command line immediately and let's start working. Now let me just reduce this as well. So at this point, Spring Boot, we are done with it. I'm going to simply minimize it. So here here in Visual Studio Code, we are now going to work to continue working with the product web. So I'm going to go to terminal, new terminal. And when you say new terminal, you can see right there under it creates a new terminal. So I'm going to say cd. So this embedded command line, in case you don't know, I'm going to say cd product web. Okay, so we are in product web. So at this point, I'm actually going to come here and stop this because we are done with it. So we can actually run the same command right here, because right now, if I refresh this page, it's gone. We are not getting it back because I already stopped it. But I can do the same ng serve here. That will be okay. But let's follow the instructions. So the first step says create a component. This component is going to be responsible for displaying the list of products. Displaying the list of products. Okay, first I've opened step one. Open the app component.html file. So let's go to this place. So there is actually a bunch of things that is added for us, created for us by AngularJS. So if I go to SRC, if I go to app, I'm go to, these are the files that make up the application. So if I go to components, you can see, just give me a second, let me just serve up this application again. So the file, the HTML file that we see when we run when we run AngularJS, if I can bring it back now, this is a file controlling that initial page we saw, right? This is a file app component.html. Now the instruction, what we are going to do, we want to display a list of products. We don't want to display all that junk displayed. So I'm going to simply delete everything. Everything has to be deleted except the last one, which is the router outlet. So the router helps you route the HTML, display a particular HTML in the browser. So I'm going to, okay, so the next thing we want to do, so ng serve is running, so let's just allow it to finish because, or we can actually open a second terminal. To open a second terminal, you simply click on this plus sign right here. It opens a second terminal for you, and you can see Node. You can see what we are running right now. You have a second terminal right here. You can actually open more, but let's just continue from here. So let's allow the ng serve to run, and then we continue from there. Actually, I should have allowed it. Okay, but since I've already entered the command and executed it, let's allow it to run. Actually, you could have actually created this application right from this embedded command line, but I'm just trying to make sure you understand that there are different ways you can do things when you are a developer. It's a different way, a whole lot of things. For me, when I was building this application by myself, I built it using IntelliJ. I never used VS Code. But for you, using VS Code is a good experience for you so that you can learn how to use different tools. So I'm going back here. I'm going back to the same place, and now it's served up again. And this page you see right here, I've deleted everything. So if I actually save, this page is going to go away. So if I save, it's going to recompile. I'm going to refresh this page, and everything is going to go because I've deleted it. So let's go to follow the instruction. The instruction says we need to create another component. So I can actually open another, go to the next terminal and create. First, I'm going to navigate into the product web, and we are going to create a new component using ng generate. I'm going to be a bit fast because I'm running out of time. Component. So I'm going to call this component product. Component products. Ng generate component product. So it's going to generate a component for us, and we can see. Okay, so now it adds. You can see the product. You can see product added. So it added the product component and a whole lot of things. The CSS, the HTML, the TypeScript file. TypeScript, of course, is a superset of JavaScript. And we are not talking about it right now because I'll have another tutorial for that. So when this command run, a new component is created. You will see a new directory called product, which you can see. And step 4 now says add a route to display the employee component. To display the employee component. The employee component is the HTML. It says employee works. So for now, it's not displayed. Nobody's going to see it. But we need a route to display the employee component. And to do that, we are going to modify a file called approuting.module.cs. So I'm going to go to the approuting.module.cs, this approuting.module.ts, this guy here. This guy is the file responsible for routing the web pages to be able to mount it on the base nodes, basically to display it in the browser. This is the file responsible for routing different components to be displayed. So we are going to actually modify this file. We are going to add a route, and that route is going to specify the paths, and also the URL to display. So to do that, we are going to modify this by adding a route. So I'm going to just paste this. So we are adding the product. We are adding a route. The path is product/products, and /product should display the product component. So I'm going to just come here and okay. So we need quick fix, and we have this import. Okay. So when this happens, a new component is created. Okay. Okay. So we added the routes. We modified this, and that is fine. So basically, we add a route and import the component to this file. So if I save it now, we should be able to see. If I save all, it's going to recompile, and we should be able to see. In a second, let me just come here. So if I go to /products, is it /products or /products? Okay. So if I go here, you can see product works. The product component is displayed because if you go to the product component, you can see product works. Just to tell you that there is no magic, I'm going to write something else so that you can see. Subscribe and like, and let me just write the whole stuff. And buy me a coffee. Yeah, sorry, I'm making all these jokes here, but there's something you can do. Okay, so I'm going to save everything. It's going to refresh this page and display what I just typed, and that is great. So now what we want to display on this products page is a list of products and not all this stuff here. We want to display a list of products. So let's go back to follow the steps. Now we've modified the route to display the products. Now we want to create a client because we are going to be making a HTTP request to the API, because this is a different application. It could be anywhere. It could be in a different server somewhere in another country. We need to make a HTTP request. Remember the architecture. Let me just show you in case you've forgotten. Remember the architecture. This architecture right here. I have a bridge here called HTTP. So this bridge is simply HTTP. Is across the boundary to different applications. That's what we want to create now. And to do that, we need a service. We need a service. So let's get back here. So we need to create the HTTP client service. This is a global service that will be responsible for making HTTP requests to the API we created in Spring Boot. So to do that, I'm going to simply go to PowerShell, to this terminal here. I'm going to say ng create service and specify the location where you want the service to be. So I want to put it in a directory called service, and I'm going to call this service HTTP client. Okay, so I'm going to call it HTTP client. When you create a service will be global, so that any part of this application that wants to make a request can actually use this service. So it's created as a service, not a component. So take note of that. So I'm going to hit enter key. So this command will create a HTTP client service for us inside the service directory. Ng create service, specify create. Okay. So you have ng generate service. Please forgive me for that. So it's not ng create service, but ng generate service. So ng generate. Maybe I can just use the same command. So instead of create, I'm going to change it to generate. we generate HTTP. Okay, that's fine. So this is going to create a service for us. So if you check, you'll see is a new folder called the service folder. Okay, and it has HTTP client service, a TypeScript file. And we're going to open this service and modify it to be able to make requests So basically, instead of explaining all this, I'm going to simply first copy it and paste, and then I'm going to give me 1 second. All right, so we have this service created for us. This that injectable here shows that this is a service, so it can be injected anywhere. So the content has to be this. So let me just copy it. So basically, what is happening here? So let's make no mistake about it at this point. So if I shift this a little bit, so you need to specify the URL where it's going to fetch the data from. In this case, you are going to localhost port 8081 product web, but you can see we have a problem. Where it's going to fetch is from here. So I'm going to copy this. This is where the API sends the JSON data from. So we are going to copy it and use it to replace this. This is where it is. Okay, perfect. So basically, we have a product class here. And this product class is now returning list of items, and we are telling it that this list of items is going to be list of products. So that's why we say HTTP client gets an array of products from here. So we need to also have a product class, which is what we have here, so that when it gets this list, it's going to bundle it into list of products that we already have right here. All right, so add the HTTP client module to the app module.cs. To do this, open the app module.cs file and add the HTTP client module to the import section of the file. Okay, so HTTP client module. Add the HTTP client module to the app module.cs. So you are going to, because the app module contains the services, so we are going to tell the app module that there's another service that we also have. So so here in import section, we are going to add the HTTP client module as well. HTTP client module. It should be this one. It should be this one. All right, it should be this one. Okay, this is available in Angular Common HTTP. All right, now we're going to insert the HTTP client service into the product component, because the product component will have to use this service to get a list of products. So we want to use this service, the HTTP client service, in the product. So to do this, we are going to open the product component and then modify it. So let's open the product component, this file, and we are going to make it use the HTTP client service to fetch data. So basically, we are going to write a function here that handles successful fetching of data and returns it asynchronously. So I'm going to copy this. So just make sure we are not missing anything. Okay, so I'm going to just replace. Okay. So basically, what we did here is to specify what the component will be. So this is a component, the template URL, and the style URL. Okay, and then we simply declare a new product, a list of products. We have a constructor, the client constructor, which is injected here. So when we initialize the HTTP, the product component, we need to make a request. HTTP client service is going to make a request, get products, and then put the response it gets. When it handles successful response, returns a response list of products, is going to place it inside this response variable. And once that request completes and response is returned successfully, we're going to place this into this state variable here called product, and we're going to place it right here. So at this point, the product component now have the list of products, right? So now we need to display this list of products on the HTML component in the HTML page or the HTML file of the product component. So we are going to open the HTML file, this product HTML file, which displays this product works. I'm going to delete whatever is there. And we are going to simply put a table there. Now all this HTML code you see here, you can actually do without them. You can actually put only the table. So basically, let me just copy everything first, and then I'm going to explain to you. So I'm going to paste everything. So now the important part of this file is basically, let me just show you, is simply the table/table section here, right? So we are displaying a table. The table has a header. Now this is where we are now going to use AngularJS. So we have ng4 like product of product. So that's the syntax. So for all the products, we are going to display inside the table repeatable. Now this row is table row is repeatable, so it's going to display all the items. So basically we are done, and I'm going to run it. Now I want you to follow, make sure you follow all this success from beginning to end. If you have problem, let me know. If you don't understand everything for now, it's not a problem. Make sure you follow it and get it done successfully. Improve your debugging skills. In the subsequent lessons, we are now going to take it bit by bit. Maybe I can make a longer lesson to be able to help you see how everything hooks up. So at this point, I'm going to save everything. It's going to recompile and now reload the page, and then we are going to see. So I'm going to leave this place open, and I'm going to say file, save all, and let's see what happens. So let's see, hopefully we should see a list of products coming from the product. Okay. So we have a problem here. We have list of products, but it's not getting anything. So let me show you where this problem is coming from. Sorry, I have to change my webcam. The problem is coming from the fact that the product API is not allowing the product UI or the product web to connect. So the get list of products method is not actually allowing requests coming from a different origin. And that's a security related to security. So let's solve it. Let's go back to. We are going to tell this method here to allow requests coming from other places to be able to access this place, to access this resource here, this method. So I'm going to simply say, so here in the get product mapping of the API, so we are going to say cross origin, if I'm not mistaken, and then specify the link where you want requests to come, and it will be accepted. So I'm going to say origins equals HTTP, and the port for AngularJS is 4200. Okay, so we are going to tell it to allow requests coming from this server, and when requests come from this server, it will now be able to accept it. So I'm going to restart. After saving, I'm going to restart, and then we are done. So let me restart. So that was one thing, because if you go to this say view source, and you can see, sorry, not view source, we are going to say hopefully inspect. So once you go to inspect, you'll be able to get a few information about where the problem is coming from. So you can see access to, okay, so it's done. So you can see access has been blocked from origin, as you can see. So you read this message, you can see exactly where this problem is coming from. So if it starts up now, it will allow requests coming from this this place to be able to get in. So let's do it. All right, so at this point, everything should be fine. I'll simply refresh the page. Yeah, so you can see now that it's fetched the data from the API. And at this point, we have completed our lesson. I'd like to recommend you support my channel, support this new website I've created, because this new website is for you. And if you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment, write me, like the video, share it around, and also subscribe if you're not subscribed. We'll see you in the next part.